seeing the potential that others see in you. Also pay a little bit more attention to how money moves and why it does. And I think I was maybe 11 when that happened. That's one of my favorite quotes from Meet the Robinsons. That's actually one of the first times I've recalled that memory. It's very important to understand that there is more than one perspective, and current one that in my mind may not be the right one, but it is a perspective. The mantra of seeing yourself through your loved one's eyes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the En Route to Discovery podcast. I want to tell you that there are people that create businesses. There are people that create lives that are dreams that only people dream about. And then there are people like Katherine, who has done both at just a young age. She's the co-founder and COO of PulseFX, operating in high-pressured world of global finance and fintech. Her company has been listed as one of the top 50 companies founded in Canada, and she recently got an award for the top 20 up-and-coming entrepreneurs of 2026. But long before markets and high-pressure foreign exchange and everything, she was navigating through two cultures. She was born in Canada, moved to China at a young age and lived there for a little while, moved back to Canada and navigated through those adapted lenses and was able to see the world at different angles from that. And in doing my homework, Katherine, I did find out that back in 2011, fun fact, that's the year that Mia was born, you made a quote online talking about Matthew McConaughey. And one of the things that he said, every day you need three things. You need something to look up to, something to look forward to, and somebody to chase. And he talks about chasing himself 10 years down the road, a better version of himself. So today, we're going to be talking to Katherine. We're going to learn about who she's chasing and what that version looks like down the road. So with no further ado, I would like to welcome Katherine Li to the pod. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you, James. Great intro. I am honored to be here and happy to share my story and my side to everything.
Fantastic. I'm going to go right over to you, Mia, as my lovely co-host. We're going to get things right off the top. So Mia, I'd like you to meet Katherine.
It's great to meet you, Katherine. Thanks for joining us today. I want to jump in right away to my first question. So, you were born in Canada, but we know you spent some of your early childhood in China. What age did you move there?
Moved there when I was 2 years old. So my working memory was not there. But I did stay there until I was about 6 and had traveled back and forth after that. I went there every other year to get a better grasp on the Chinese culture, the language. The unique part was I wasn't with my parents. I grew up with my grandparents, and that was a result of a divorce, but it taught me how to see things from a different view because everyone surrounding me was over 65. And I found that was, I think I take that with how I perceive and through into life. I actually had to go into ESL because I had such a hard time figuring out both languages, English and Mandarin. And then there's another dialect, which is specific to Shanghai. So I was juggling three different languages, if you will, and it was difficult, but I pushed through and I had a lovely childhood.
So you transitioned when you were about 6, so you probably don't have many memories of that at that age. But did you grow up in a traditional Chinese household, or was it more Canadian, or was it a mix of both?
It was definitely a mix of both. I did, especially when I was in China, my working memory at least serves me a little bit where there was a community, it was a little bit of a gated area, and grew up with neighbors, playing with ants on the street. Coming to Canada, we lived in Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls being a very tiny town compared to the big city of Shanghai, it was a huge adjustment. So on top of learning relearning a new language and getting accustomed to, oh my goodness, a hamburger, or, dipping my French fries in ketchup. That was a whole different experience. It just wasn't as common where I was before. So trying to fit in at school, bringing my lunches that were, dumplings and rice dishes, and everyone else had their PB&J. Although I think due to nut allergies, at one point it transitioned, but maybe it was just J. But my lunches were definitely different, and I thought the transition was a little harder, but I was surrounded with the most wonderful people. I think being in a small town, everyone was just from a kinder perspective. And Niagara Falls is a great place. Highly recommend it for travel and just a getaway.
Good, good. Mia, any other questions
Mhm.
regarding her background or growing up?
Okay, so was there someone who made you believe you had something in you to build or lead?
Yeah, actually, there was a teacher and Mrs. Robinson. She was my grade 8 grad teacher, and she had a profound impact in my life. The way she encouraged me to lead, to use my smile, she says. She liked my smile a lot. And she says, spread the sunshine, spread the warmth. And as a grade 8 student, I'm like, wait, what? um, she was a lovely teacher, and she taught me, my first guitar lesson was with her. I think all in all, if I were to, see her again, I would really give her thanks for just encouraging and giving me all the positive encouragement that I needed to, be who I am as a leader now.
That's amazing. I think that's so important for the people listening, especially the young audience at home, is sometimes, we go to school and we have teachers and we don't realize the impact that they make on us until later. Or we might realize it right at the time, like somebody who's paying attention, somebody who's listening and hearing and seeing me for who I am. I think that's so important. And as a leader yourself now, I'm sure that transitions into how you speak with younger generation of entrepreneurs coming up. One of the things that you talked about in a previous podcast was that internal conflict that you have sometimes. And I think I might have even heard saying that you have an internal critic. I think you might have called it Randall or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. But with that, has that critic inside you ever end up helping you instead of hurting you?
That's a great question. Yes, you really did do your homework. Randall is very much a part of my life still, and it is useful to give it a name because it really helps me decompress and separate my work self and my home self. I do think that sometimes Randall can help get me a little perspective because I'm able to notice that there are certain narratives or um, certain viewpoints that I have that are very biased. And in my profession, dealing with different clients across the board in different industries, from different locations, I think it's very important to understand that there is more than one perspective, and current one that is in my mind may not be the right one, but it is a perspective. So it's not to chase the right or wrong, it's to just understand that there is more than one.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you know what? I think that's important for all entrepreneurs. I go through that myself sometimes. We all have that critic that kind of keeps us in line sometimes, and sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. But it's important to know that it's there and it's part of us. So, Mia, anything else about that critic or what her learning was or anything about that?
Yes, actually. What's something that building PulseFX showed you about yourself that surprised you?
Hmm. I like that. Um, I will backtrack to your previous question and I'll link it with this one. Because of that specific teacher that gave me a lot of positive encouragement in believing in myself. I also pursued student council in high school. So I became the grade 9 rep as soon as, grade 8 finished. And did my speeches and such, and went into world issues class with so many questions and so much, drive. I think moving into management at my previous firm and then now building PulseFX, it is all stemming from a lot of building blocks that I collected along the way. It didn't happen overnight. I didn't just wake up and said, let's do this. It was more of a slow, gradual build to give me the drive and confidence to actually be in that position, along with quieting Randall every step of the way. Because I think, that little voice can give you a healthy dose of humbleness, but at the same time, it can also slow down certain progress. So balancing that and moving forward has been, I think, a journey in itself. So building Pulse has been just, when I look at it from a third party point of view, I'm very appreciative and very glad I made the move. But being in it last year, in the thick of it was very difficult. So all in all, I think the ups and downs makes the ups that much more sweet. Thanks for that
So
question.
that's amazing. And I had a couple other questions to do with, that internal conflict, but I'm going to skip right by them because you led into a good section where I wanted to talk to you a little bit about outdoors and grounding. I know that you love the outdoors. You operate in global markets. It's high pace, it's high volume, it's a lot of excitement, and there's ups and downs, like you say. And then you disappear into the woods from time to time. Tell me a little bit about your experience disappearing into the woods.
My favorite part. If I could operate in from the forest, I would. Maybe this is my cue to get a Starlink, but I am happiest in nature. I love to be in a tent somewhere under the stars, getting eaten by bugs because of my blood type. I don't know. I'm always getting bit. Um, but I find that just being surrounded by nature, the quietness, the also unplugging part of it all, and making your own fire and seeing the world in a different perspective. Um, I think it's just a beautiful way to see and experience what the world has to offer. Especially, being in a big city, in Toronto, but, growing up also partially from Shanghai to here and visiting different cities, I think that the balance of it all is what I crave. And I know, James, we both connect on that, in which case, being on the road is such a rewarding experience. You don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And each experience is something to be appreciated. The fact that we have the capability and the privilege to be able to travel free in our country and our neighboring countries is such a blessing. And having all the tools and no, I love it. I love nature.
Amazing, amazing. And yes, we can totally relate, Mia and I.
You just said that you love the outdoors, and whenever you're out in nature, it's when you're the happiest. So where did your love for off-road camping come from?
I don't I don't actually know. I don't know where. No, I've always liked hiking, but I didn't actually start camping until probably high school. But actually, okay, backtracking. My grandfather used to always take me on hiking trails in China. And I was very, very young, but every time I would go back to visit throughout my childhood, we would pick a new, mountain, a new little town to go and explore. And I loved that aspect. We didn't really camp, but some of the places were a little rugged, so maybe camping is better.
Hey, that's a beautiful
But
part
yeah,
about it.
I
You just
think
never
that's
know.
probably where it started. Yeah, yeah, that's a that's a great question. Yeah, I remember there are parts where there was a bamboo boat where literally there was maybe 8 bamboos tied together with string, and we would go across the river. And that was a scene in itself within the journey of climbing that mountain. And I think I was maybe 11 when that happened. So, yeah, that's actually one of the first times I've recalled that memory. Thanks.
It's funny, you talk about climbing the mountain, and a lot of people ask me how
Yeah.
I'm a full-time RVer, and I always see the relationship between what I do as a full-time RVer and in business as an entrepreneur, because I often say that there's ups and downs in life and in business. There's ups and downs in going outdoors and taking that trail and climbing that mountain per se. And at the end of it, you don't know how you're going to get up there. You don't know where the trail is. You don't know exactly what's going to be in front of you, but it's that drive to hit the peak and hit that mountain. So I think there's a lot of similarities in what I'm doing as a full-time RVer and my entrepreneurial journey. And it sounds like to you as well. Mia, any other thoughts about the off-roading?
Does like being in the outdoors, do you think it changes how you show up as a leader?
Very good question. Yeah, I do think that I am very patient as a leader, that I always try to give the benefit of the doubt. And I I think that that does stem from my connection with nature and that want and just the journey of being and the road trips that we've had. And the reason why I make that connection is because I think as leaders, it's sometimes very easy to find the quick solution, or maybe something is happening that's out of your control and you try to find and pivot and find something else right away without really sometimes spending that extra time to try to figure it out using what you currently have. And I think that might be the biggest difference between myself and others, in which case, being in operations, there are a lot of tools and ways of doing things out there, but sometimes what we already have just needs a little bit more, time and intention from us to really unlock what that could become. And I think while we are traveling on our road trips and such, it's using what we're surrounded with. It's using the environment that we're in to make a good experience. So I think that it really allows me to be more patient with myself and those around me and the systems involved. Yeah, a great question.
So powerful for people listening at home. And before I get off the topic of outdoors, I know that you have your beautiful dog right behind you, and she goes camping with you. She goes to the office with you. She does everything with you. Do you think the relationship with your beautiful Echo behind you has taught you anything about loyalty or presence or anything about how you show up in the world? I know it's a wild question, but I know how deeply you love your Echo.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely on the more caring side. Sometimes I care a little too much. Yeah, I do have a soft spot. And I think my co-founders, they help keep that in check as well, as much as, I have to work on my assertion sometimes. um, and yeah, especially in those moments where you find that everything is too overwhelming. There's so much bad news in the media, and I can't really get away from it because I have to consume all the news that are out there to make a very informed decision, to keep my clients up to date, to write the market updates that I do. And from consuming all the media that's out there, and right now, of course, a lot of the media is quite negative, you need that balance and you need that purity, the innocence. And what is more innocent than a dog? What is more pure than a canine friend?
That is so
So I'm
beautiful.
so blessed. I'm so blessed to have her. And I'm so blessed that I can get overwhelmed and go straight to her, pet her, emotional support animal. And she
That's
lets me.
amazing. That's amazing. And you did mention your co-founders in your business, and we didn't talk much about it, but Pulse is an amazing company, PulseFX. So in simple terms for our audience, what is it that you do and why does it mean so much to you?
Yeah, so we help small to medium-sized businesses move money across borders, and we treat foreign exchange specifically not as a just transactional self-serve platform, but we see it as a strategic function in a corporation running a business. So we want to make everyone just to be more aware of the fact that these currencies move every second, 24/5. So weekends are usually not. You have financial advisors, wealth managers, you have trade like hedge fund companies to manage your money and invest and keep track of the markets and keep people informed. I want founders, finance teams, CFOs, everyone to also pay a little bit more attention to how money moves and why it does. And maybe paying attention and planning ahead and having a plan for their FX and cash flow transactions in a company, maybe that can help them with some extra savings. We've seen it a lot in our line of business, and I find that especially for founders, you don't really have the time to go and stare at the markets, and that's where we come in and we become that outsourced payments officer on your team. And if anyone has questions regarding it, a lot of my clients just shoot me a text or give me a call, and we became good friends. So I think that that's what really makes us different than your typical platform that you would just log on your phone
I
and
can
watch.
attest to that. I've read up on your company a lot. I've learned a lot about it and I've spoken to you about it. And I think that personal touch is so important. When it comes to founders, what's one of the biggest myths that founders have or they believe about foreign exchange? What is one of those things that you think that sometimes people don't know about as founders?
Yeah, actually, there is one that always surprises people, and that being the universal currency US dollar. Just because you are using it the most and that is the only currency you're trading in or using doesn't actually eliminate your foreign exchange exposure or risk. And the reason being is there are countries out there. Take China, for example, which I know the most, being from there originally. Um, they tend to invoice in US dollar always. Even parts of Europe, even South America, US dollar is the universal currency that you settle in. But there are benefits to asking for an invoice in their home currency. So depending on where that company you're buying from, the suppliers, where that company is based and they're trying to pay you in your services, it is advisable to actually ask for an invoice in their home currency. So instead of just paying direct in US dollars, maybe you can pay direct in CNY or, JPY, Japanese yen, or, Swiss francs. Usually when you just ask that one extra question, can I see your invoice in your home currency or can I pay you in your home currency? You'll see a bit of a difference in the cost from your Canadian to US or Canadian to CNY. The difference can be substantial. And the reason being, when that country gives you that invoice in US dollars, they still need to convert that
Yes.
themselves into their home currency, into pesos, into Japanese yen, into Chinese CNY. And that conversion that they have to do, they're going to have to tack that onto your invoice. So that is probably the easiest way that we see founders and even finance teams that they're unaware that, all right, the invoice is in US dollars, let's just pay it. It can save a buck or two. Hmm.
in my manufacturing days, we were doing manufacturing. A lot of it was overseas, and just those exchanges and those changes, it adds up, especially when you're doing large currency transactions. And it doesn't take much to, to make a few dollars here and there. So definitely great advice. Thank you. What's one of the hardest operational lessons you have building a company? And for those the younger people, and you hear the term COO, Chief Operating Officer, it's your job to kind of look after operations and everything. So what is one of the hardest operational lessons that you've had so far building Pulse?
Great question. I think not adopting AI automations into my daily workflow earlier. I had always been a little bit on the more hesitant side with AI, as many people were, but there are a lot of misconceptions of how you can use it to help you save time on certain tasks that doesn't actually need critical thinking. It just needs a repetition, or it needs organization and maybe editing, for example. Yeah, and so and one of the ones that we use a lot right now is Copilot to help us proofread and edit. I think that that in itself does save a lot of time. And me being in operations, I didn't really use it all that much to begin with. But it is something that I'm continuously learning, and I think will help improve my own balance in life and in work.
Great answer. I think everybody can learn from that one. And sometimes we're slow to adopt some of these new technologies, and we worry and we let fear get in the way. But I think this one is not stopping. So it's made as well get ahead of it. Mia, do you have any questions regarding the business or anything that you want to put a bow on the business side of the conversation? Anything that you were thinking of?
I actually was thinking of one since we're in the business category. If you could go back to the day before launching PulseFX, what would you tell that version of yourself?
Great question.
Yeah. Take a vacation. In truth, I haven't taken a vacation since I started Pulse, and it is I think that aspect of entrepreneurship is I mean, I think the way you've built your life with the being on the road is wonderful, and I want to get to that level. But I think the first few years of building any business, from everyone that I've spoken to, it takes a lot, and you're working many, many hours on weekends, after work. After your main job, you have to now do your real job, and there's an endless amount of tasks. So even when you're on vacation, or if you're on a trip, you're still log online. You're still getting to that next task. And I think that, maybe before I started Pulse, I would have said, take another vacation. Take a trip to fully unplug and start swinging.
Got it. Got it. Well, I said this to you the weekend I first met you. We were at the Reignite conference. And I said, one of the things that you need to do is schedule time for yourself as an entrepreneur. And I think it still holds true here, hearing that answer is put it in the calendar, make a point of disconnecting, get outdoors. And I know it's hard in those first few years, and everybody says you got to grind, but I'm going to tell you, it's very important to schedule those times, I will say. Now, I know we're up against the clock here, and I don't want to keep you all afternoon. But I do want to tie it back to what I said off the top about, I don't know if you remember making a comment about Matthew McConaughey in 2011 when he was getting that Oscars. And he talked about every day you wake up, you need three things. And the three things for him was someone to look up to, something to look forward to, and someone to chase. And in his case, he had three answers for that. But I was talking about this principle, and he was chasing himself 10 years down the road, and it was a better version of himself. And I think that's so important because he said he first thought of this when he was 15. And when he got to 25, he was chasing his 35-year-old self. And then he was chasing his 45-year-old self. So I explained all of that concept to Mia, and Mia thought it would be neat to talk about that today. So Mia, what would you say with that to Catherine?
Yeah, so I was just curious, who do you look up to right now?
I love that. Oh, I looked up to a lot of people. And I'm surrounded by lovely people, actually, your father being one of them. And that Reignite is such a great conference, and I had talked to him about a lot of, my insecurities and our journey, and he did say, get out there, just block some time. And lo and behold, 2 weeks after the conference, I went camping. And I took my laptop with me, but I went camping. It was my first camping trip in like 2 years. And that is the longest I've gone, I think. So thank you, James. I think there's so many people that I actually look up to, and I love that you brought up the Matthew McConaughey quote, because it is also to believing in ourselves. I think one of the biggest things that also drives me forward when Rindle is a little loud is the mantra of seeing yourself through your loved one's eyes, and seeing the potential that others see in you. Now you should see that potential. And that's a great note for you, Mia. You're surrounded by, such amazing parents, and, a network of people that is available to you. And seeing what they can see you accomplish can be so powerful, because it gives you the support and encouragement that sometimes you really need. I know that doesn't necessarily answer your question because I have too many to think of,
No, that's fair
but it
enough. It's
is.
the network around you and the people that that you love and that love you. I think that is a great people to look up to. I will go with the next question and just say, sticking with that theme, what is something that you genuinely look forward to in this season of your life? And I think of life as seasons, and you're in a different season than I am. But in where you are now, what is it that you look forward to?
Right now, we are looking forward to hiring. So we made an offer to someone actually this morning, and we're looking to hire a few more people. I'm really looking forward to building the team and actually having a larger company feeling, or not larger, but a little larger than what we are. I am excited to see what is to come with the future. I did book my first vacation
Amazing.
coming up, Mexico in 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just sitting in the sun and unplugging for a few days now that we're hiring a few people.
Fantastic,
Right.
fantastic. And the third part of the McConaughey, Mia, you want to ask the next question?
Yeah. And who are you chasing? Like, what does your 10 years from now version look like?
Mm. I hope to be as happy as I am now, and with not regrets, and keep moving forward. That's one of my favorite quotes from Meet the Robinsons. If you've watched the movie. But I want to be a person that leads with intention, that isn't floating through life, is actually trying to be their best version, as everyone I think hopes to be. And I hope to always have more than one perspective and try to see the other's perspective. I think one of the biggest things that we're lacking in the world that's really creating this divide is the inability for us to see what the other person is going through. Everyone is going through something right now, and if we are just give them the benefit of the doubt, see that they're going through something as well, and hey, like, we're all just trying. I hope to hold on to that mindset, um, and share that with others as well. So yeah,
That's
to build a
beautiful.
community.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mia, we touched on a lot of parts here. We touched about your early days. We touched about, the outdoors and your business and some of the things that inspire and drive you. Mia, to close out, do you have a question for our audience at home?
I'm going to do the one that I want to know most of all. For young people watching, maybe someone my age who doesn't yet know what they want to build, what would you say to inspire them to build and believe that they can create something meaningful?
What a question. You came up with that? That's amazing. I think don't be afraid to dream big. As corny as that sounds, younger self Kat would have never dreamt I would be currently here being interviewed in a podcast and running a company. Um, I was limiting myself actually, and if on the interest side, it's seeing what you can be good at and don't be afraid of trying new things and tapping into different aspects of life. I think one part is the thing that I have actually learned that's really helped me is little interactions, being open to little interactions, even with strangers. I think that is in itself extremely powerful and it can lead you to not even knowing interests that you have. Like I did not know I was going to down the FX rabbit hole graduating from school. I, went for international relations and economics. It was a good marry actually between the two, but it wasn't and geography and urban planning. I did all the different types of topics, but at the end of the day, it's not where you started, it's how your little interactions all add up into one. So I guess don't be afraid of trying different things. And being young, you can risk trying different things. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. Keep going.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah.
That's beautiful. And,
Thank you.
I think it's a good way to end the podcast today because it does give that, that inspiration because we do see the news where it's divisive and everything else. But for everybody, it doesn't matter where you are on topics. This is a beautiful life. We are blessed with being in it at this time in our history. And so just keep trying new things, find things that you're passionate about. I couldn't agree more with you, Catherine. I think that's great advice for the audience at home. And I know you're running a very busy company and you took time out of your day to spend it with me and Mia today. So we greatly appreciate that. If people want to learn more about PulseFX and those job hirings and things that you're doing, where do they go to find out more about you and your company?
You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on our website, pulsefx.com. And thank you so much, James and Mia, for having me. This was such a lovely experience, and I like the format, and it's just so good to catch up. And thank you.
Our pleasure. And thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you again soon. And make sure you're booking those vacations in your calendar.
Thank you.